Hey guys, welcome back. So I am just jumping in and I'm going to walk you through one of the many uses for Milanote. But just for those of you who have been with us all afternoon, we've had a great discussion there with Callum, Forsyth and Gelb all about accelerators, incubators and what language is useful and what's not. So if you did miss that, I would definitely go back and check it out if you're considering getting involved in an accelerator program. There are some really good tips there. So I'm going to dive into Milanote, and I don't know if you guys have used something like this before, but I told this story the other day that this came about because I was saying to Gelb, I feel like I've got lots of projects in my mind and I'm a very, very visual person. So I felt like every time I thought about something, all my ideas would be quite tangled, and I just wanted to be in a room that had whitewashed walls where I could post-it note everything, and I would have different colours of post-it notes, and I'd put them all up and I'd be able to move them around, plan things out, and just feel like I had decluttered my mind and really understood funnels and flows and essentially used design thinking. So I was really struggling, and he is an absolute tool extraordinaire. He's going to laugh that I called him that. But he absolutely loves to find and use a new tool. And he came up with Milanote, and I have started to use it. You can see here I've started to use it for lots and lots of different projects. And it's kind of a way that I've started to organise myself, and I like it because it's visual, it's really simple to use, and I've just been kind of playing about with it and seeing if it's something that might stick. So I've been moving things into columns for different projects and having boards within boards within boards. So anyone who uses Trello for Kanbans is going to be really familiar with the layout, but I've created a 0 to revenue column. And one of the questions that we had from the community was, if I'm not able to watch the live stream from the minute you press go to the end of the night, I would really love a way to be able to see the key decisions that we've made throughout the day, the discussions that we've had, the output. And I think Slack is brilliant for that in terms of the live in the moment conversation, and even to be able to go back and find things and join in the chat. But I think it can be quite hard if you're looking for resources, and certainly if you're visual, I can often feel like it gets very cluttered and it's not super easy to find things. So I thought I would build us out a 0 to revenue Milanote as a demonstration of how Milanote works, and as a tool that you could play around with. With all of this, I always say it depends on how your mind works, what tools you like, how often you like switching between tools, or if you like your whole ecosystem, your whole work, all your projects, maybe life, work, everything in one place or not. And everybody's different. Something that we talk about a lot are the ways that we each go about doing our own planning. So essentially like our own internal planning system. And we might use different tools for that because it suits us in different ways. So it's just about, I think, finding what works for you. And then when you're working with the team, is trying to find what tools are working for collaboration. But I have built some kind of high-level structure for this Milanote for the 0 to revenue challenge, and I'd love to kind of walk you through it to show what you're able to do with Milanote, and also get your suggestions about what you'd like to see, what bits of information you think would be useful from the live stream. So what bits of conversations or decisions or resources you would like pulled out and put on a place like this so that you can see it. So if we dive into the main dashboard, here are all of my different projects that I've put up on Milanote, and 0 to revenue, I've made a column. And so that first one that I was in, the start here, was just a high level explanation of what is the project, and quick access to all the links. So when you're trying to find where on earth is the live stream, what's coming up next, our podcast, somebody was asking about that earlier, wanting to be able to find us on Twitter, you've got easy access there. And then these were things that I want to kind of build out for you all. So people were asking about the team. I'd love to be able to put up on here each of our different headshots, a little bio and description of us all. And hopefully that'll be quite a nice welcome page for people who are joining us throughout the week. So that can be a nice who we are. Why are we doing this? This is something that actually myself, Gelb and Ben have covered in our initial podcast sessions. And I'm going to try and find the time to write up a transcript, and everything that I discuss in the next wee while is part of the documentation that I want to do to be able to capture how we've gone about this week. Some of it we're going to be able to build and we're going to be able to grow within the week itself, and some of it is just going to be a wrap up that I'll be able to do after the week itself. So why are we doing this? I want to tell you a little bit about the backgrounds to each of us being here, what made us choose Zero to Revenue, why this week, and again I can put stories, images in here. Why the Zero to Revenue challenge, and the story, our foundation story of what happened to us on Monday morning when we were about to go live, and 5 minutes from kickoff we still weren't inside the building. So that's a little story that we'd be able to pop in there as well. And then what we're building. So as part of the Zero to Revenue challenge, the product that we're building and the direction that we've taken is Briefing Room, and it's just another home base for really quick and easy findable links there. So that's what I thought as a kind of starting point. And then every day, you can see I've created a board. These are called boards, these individual sections. And I've kind of mapped it out like this. So I figured I can show the schedule that we've run through for the day, and then each, I'll give you a demo of one. Each board is a different segment. So if we had a new segment, if this was day 2 and it was the many uses of Milanote, that could be a board that contains the YouTube clip for this particular segment. It could have templates in it for Milanote templates that I might have used, or a link to this so that it's publicly accessible, anything that you want to be able to find and use on that segment. And if you weren't able to watch it, then maybe some key learnings could be put inside that board as well. So that's an example board, and I haven't filled each of these out, as you can see. I've got the logo everywhere. Where did I put one? Alternatives. We used a Milanote for this. Just loads of different ways you can use it. So earlier in the week, in fact, just yesterday, feels like the week's been longer than it has been already, Gelb and I spent some time looking at potential competitors to Briefing Room. So what's already out there from our customer research and our discovery, what names were recurring that people were using, either as a kind of hack together solution for trying to engage with their investors and update them, or something that was designed specifically for that. And this is just ideal for dropping in screenshots, writing up quick kind of post-it note reports. I love it, again, because I'm somebody who really likes to think visually. So this is kind of a competitor, high-level competitor overview, but it's something we could easily dig into. So I've used Milanote before to kind of take something like this screen here. I'm going to zoom in so you can see. This was one of Gelb's full-page screenshots, which is fancy. But it can be really useful to use Milanote to post a screenshot like this. And if you're doing anything like taking apart the copy or the design of a website and giving feedback, I find it really handy for annotation. So you can very easily draw arrows, you can pop notes on it. And again, it's just a really nice way to be able to visually display, this is the exact bit that is the blocker in the funnel, or this is where people are dropping off, or this is the feedback that I want to give to a designer. So it can be handy for that as well. So it was a pretty good way to get our kind of competitors all in one space, and you can start visually seeing trends like what branding are they using, what colors are they using, what language are they using that's similar, and you just have a single point of truth. I think that's something that in a project like this, you'll find it yourself as well, even if you're just one person rather than collaborating with a team, is do you get that feeling like when you've just moved home and you have boxes everywhere and you haven't properly unpacked and you're running around thinking it's just that one thing that I need to find, but I have no idea where it is. And it can be like that when you've got lots of different projects in your head. So I like to have single points of truth. So somewhere where I've put everything to do with that project is linked in one place. And that's what's been proving really useful in Milanote, is that links can all be kind of they can all belong at home in a Milanote. So alternatives were quite handy. Those guys who were with us yesterday will have already seen this. This was one of their Milanote's own templates. So they provide you with some templates and you can suggest them as well. You can share how you've used Milanote and encourage others to use it similarly. So this was a brief business model canvas for briefing room. And again, just being able to have the layout of your own formatting and your blocks of text is pretty handy. So that was one way that we used it. Lead gen ideas, what I haven't built out yet. These are all just headlines. They're literally empty because I've not yet filled them, but I'm thinking it's going to become like my wiki that I'll be able to share with you all of. This was a play-by-play of the whole week. And same for if we have a speaker, what they talked about, if they mentioned any particular books. I've actually been collecting, because we're in the library, you'll have to remember from the previous shop, the books are all up on the wall here. And I've been pulling books out of the bookcase when people have mentioned them in talks. This one obviously is spot on for this week. This one is pretty up there too, but I was thinking I can easily build out a board for each talk and then recommended reading or resources that those people have mentioned. And we do have, for all their speakers, we're creating this directory. And now this is actually from Coda that we built this out. So each speaker has their profile, what they're speaking about. You can see all the information up there. But I was thinking again, how do you find all that? How do you know if it's on Coda, if it's on Slack? If you're on Twitter, how do you know where the YouTube is? So I just wanted to create one-stop shop for everything that you might possibly want to know about the Zero to Revenue Challenge. So I was thinking for each day I could have the headline speakers and then the link that you can click through and find the others in that guest directory. So that's one useful thing. And I'm wondering when I'm talking through this, if you are thinking, well, here's an example of how I would use Milanote, or if it's something that could maybe solve a problem that you're currently having. I haven't done this yet, but I was thinking of a space for kind of reflections or journaling or like personal blog updates for how we've been finding each of the days. So that is the framework that I've kind of built. I first started just creating new boards for each of the days. So I think if I go to day 5, so I actually duplicated them. I was ahead of myself. So I just copied them all initially and they were blank boards, which just means if you have a new board, I drag it and drop it, and I like that the little logo automatically changes. So it reads what I've written and it comes up with something that it maybe thinks is related. So you can see the ones that are days 1, 2, or 3. It's a cloud and a sunshine for a day. Start here has a play button, and I didn't choose them, so I really like that. So if I look at my example board, it's just a big empty board, and you can start building new boards. And you can change the color. If we want it to be purple, so this might be if I'm doing a content creation strategy and I want all of the research for one particular persona to be one color, maybe I want the research for another to be another color, or whatever reason you might be using any color coordinating system. And what's great is you can literally tunnel down. So you can build board within board within board, which helps you organize at lots and lots of levels. So if you can see up here, new board 2. This shows you the kind of each level that I'm working back up.
Can you just...
And right here, I've got my main column, and I can show you some formatting as well. So let's duplicate these boards. So if you've built one board out and you really like the way that you've made it, the structure, or you want the content, I often find starting with a blank piece of paper quite hard, but if there's something already there, then I find overwriting quite easy. That's just my personal way of working. And you can see what I'm doing here is just formatting it so they all line up, because I like things to be nice and organized like that. Anyone else with me? So those are quite useful, but you might also, this is what I've done on the first level, is pop things in columns if I want them to belong together. So I'm trying to think of things that we use these kind of tools and processes for, and that I haven't yet moved on to Milanote, but I might use them for. So I just put that other, the kind of red coloured board, I put inside board. Did I put it inside board 2? Should you guys just watch me do that? I thought it was inside board 2. A mystery board. But different things we could use this for. So we talked about content creation. So it could be your whole content creation strategy. It could be, it's perfect for mood boards. So if you're thinking about either putting together a brand or a physical space, or if you're wanting to look at, as an example, pricing comparisons with competitors, screenshotting all of their pricing pages and popping them all in a Milanote. That can be a really handy way of just seeing like for like. And it's up to you how you use it, and that's quite nice, is that it can be totally scattergun. So I normally start from a place. Let's do pricing as an example. Let's go to let's look at some pricing plans. And it really depends how you work. So of course it can be nice and organized, and can I drag that here? No. Yeah, you could do it here, there, and everywhere, and just kind of brain dump everything in, or you could do it really nice and organized. Here are screenshots from earlier. Use this one too. And then over here, it shows you what you've uploaded. And I could say, that I want to make a particular point about why the professional plan, what sort of language did they use, maybe I have feedback on it, so I can annotate it here. I can make to-do lists. I think we can also put bullet points in. They're really handy. You can see the formatting ability here as well. And what I quite like to do is, if I'm working collaboratively, I'll have a color coding system where one color will mean this needs actioned, and then when the other person has actioned it, they can change it back to a blue, something like that. So I like to keep things as free from text as possible, and just use colors. And again, you would then probably have to remember, how do I remember what color means what? But I could have a whole board with a key. And in the key, I would describe blue is done, green is to be actioned, whatever your flow might be. So obviously there's tons of other tools that you can use for this kind of thing. You can use Trello. I absolutely love using Trello, mostly because of the emojis. But I think what I find most useful about Milanote is to be able to see lots and lots of different projects within projects within projects. So it helps me do the kind of untangling part of project planning and development. So Trello I find useful once I know that there are boundaries. So if I'm thinking about, it could be product hunt that I'm preparing for launching for briefing room. I could think, well, I know where that starts and stops, so I could make a Trello board and I know exactly what I want to be on it, what I want to include on it. Where I find Trello difficult is when a project grows arms and legs and you have board upon board upon board, and I find it quite hard to link them and to make them neat and easily findable. And so that's what's proved pretty handy about using Milanote, is having all of these different layers of setup. So hopefully that's given you a wee bit of an idea about different ways you can use it. I think that's what's really interesting about tools, is you might pick this up and use it in a completely different way. And let me know, because I would love to hear what you would use it for. But similarly, you might think, well, the way that you're describing it, I actually use something else for that. And I love the way that I use that tool too. So let us know, because we're always keen to hear about tools. We have a whole channel on our Slack dedicated to that very purpose. And if you do have any questions, or if you get on board and play with Milanote and find out different ways of using it or different tricks, then get in touch. I'd love to hear from you. So for now, we're going to take a wee pause just before we have our next guest speaker in, up at the top of the hour. And I hope that was useful. I'll chat to you in a bit.